Welcome back to the Working Faith Podcast, where we take a spiritual approach to career success. I'm your host, Jalyn Isley, and by day, I operate as an HR consultant for small businesses, but by night, I'm your personal talent strategist, helping you take your career to the next level. So this is the third season of Working Faith. Thank you to everyone who's been with me since the beginning. And this time around, we're focusing on how the fruit of the Spirit can enhance our career development, exposure, and growth. So let's start with the obvious question. Why are we talking about fruit? And no, this is not the part where I tell you to eat more pineapple or drink a green smoothie, although bonus points if you're sipping one right now, because I am. You can DM me on Instagram or LinkedIn if you want to know what's in my cup with my green smoothie. I love that recipe. Very simple. You'll love it too. But anyway, we're actually talking about spiritual fruit. So when the Bible talks about the fruit of the Spirit, it names 9 qualities: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. This is the spiritual diet we need to succeed, not just personally, but professionally. Think about it. Just like oranges give your body vitamin C, patience and peace give your career resilience. Love and kindness make you the type of colleague people want on their teams. And self-control, that one keeps you from hitting reply all before you've polished that email through ChatGPT. And here's what I discovered in my own life. Career success without spiritual fruit is like eating empty calories. You feel full for a moment, but you're not nourished. You're not sustained. And I know this because at 25, my life looked pretty shiny on the outside. I had a great job, great pay, busy social calendar, but within a year, my performance review revealed a different story. It flat out said, Jalyn seems disengaged. Yeah, that's not a good look when you're the senior HR rep and you're asking to be promoted into a management position. So something definitely was missing in my life at that time. Fast forward 10-ish years later, we don't have to do the exact math on how old I am, but just know that since then, I have been consistently eating good fruit, but more importantly, I've been reaping a great harvest in my career. So what exactly do I when I say good fruit? Again, good fruit is when you practice spiritual principles consistently, not necessarily perfectly, but enough until they shape your character and your choices. It's what makes you steady in storms, gracious under pressure, and clear in your decisions. So let's connect it to work. Picture this: Sicily, 1922. Man, I really hope someone knows where that line comes from. Please message me if you do, okay? Because it's a very hilarious show. All right, sorry, my ADHD is kicking in. Let me get back on track. We were talking about connecting the fruit of the Spirit to the workplace. So from a professional standpoint, good fruit, such as love, looks like leading from connection, not competition. Joy means choosing a balanced perspective, even when that project scope changes for the 10th time. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Peace helps you stay composed during a team meeting, especially when it gets tense. Peace helps you guide that conversation toward the bigger picture instead of getting swept up into the spiral of discord. Nobody needs that. Self-control is not sending that strongly worded email until you've had a chance to cool down. So again, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, what type of strongly worded email I'm referencing here. And patience, whew, that one always gets me, but patience can look like keeping your career goals on track instead of doom scrolling LinkedIn and wondering why everyone looks so successful. So here's the truth. When you consistently cultivate these qualities, people notice. You start building a professional brand people trust, respect, and want to promote. That's how good fruit shows up in your career. Let me give you another real example from my own life. When I graduated from college and started my career in HR, I was 21 years old and landed what many would consider a dream role, working for Lehman Brothers. It was one of the largest investment banks at the time. I packed up my bags. I left my small Ohio town and I headed straight for New York City, ready to be the best adult I could be. Feeling like I had been training and waiting all my life just to be an adult. I was finally ready to go out and do it. And then a month later, the firm went bankrupt. Okay. Imagine that, fresh out of college, ready to conquer the world. And my first professional assignment was managing layoffs while silently wondering if I'd even have a paycheck the next month. Now I'm going to stop here for a moment. Can any of you guys relate to that? Have you ever had a moment in your career where the rug was completely pulled out from under you? And here's the thing about that situation that still grinds my gears. It's not like I just had an offer letter and I was waiting for the job to start. The job had started. Paychecks and bonuses had been deposited into my little credit union checking account. And as far as my family in Ohio was concerned, I was big time in the Big Apple, okay? And I was also part of an HR cohort. Like we were enrolled in this specific fast track career development program for the best and the brightest future in HR. And so my eager little cohort, we had all been assured that the company was still solvent and headed in the right direction. But the right direction is all relative. I have learned that as I've grown older, I've learned right is relative. And the only direction I was headed in at that time was to the 32nd floor of the building to lay off my recently assigned mentor and gear up for the next round of RIFs. So for those of you unfamiliar with that term, RIF stands for reduction in force. And we were reducing the Lehman force in droves. Now here's where the fruit of the Spirit made all the difference. Instead of panicking, I leaned on love, joy, peace, and patience. My faith gave me this surprising calm that, get this, I'll never forget it. It actually concerned my manager. I was so calm, she was scared. She pulled me aside one day and she was like, Jalyn, are you okay? Do you need to talk to someone? Because I can arrange a consultation for therapy. It took me like nearly 20 minutes to convince her that I wasn't shutting down. I wasn't falling into some catatonic state. I wasn't secretly depressed. I was simply confident that everything would work together for my good. And here's what happened. 3 months later, it seemed like 95% of the firm was gone. But I was one of the people who was offered a position with the new company that bought the business. That was my first confirmation that good fruit doesn't just sustain you, it carries you forward. But the story doesn't end there. About a year into that role, I hit a wall. I was working tirelessly, checking all the boxes, but I wasn't going anywhere. I was overlooked for promotions, I was losing motivation, and I was stuck in that development program that seemed more like career purgatory. Didn't really seem like there was any development going on that would put me in a position to grow my career. Now, can anybody relate to that? Have you ever felt just stuck in your role, like you were doing all the right things, but you weren't getting any of the right results? In fact, you weren't getting any results at all. That's how I was feeling at the time. I'm not getting anything. But that's when I had a breakthrough. I realized my career decisions were completely disconnected from my faith. I was treating my spiritual life like something separate from my professional life, as if the two weren't supposed to touch each other. It was as if I had completely forgotten that a fortified spirit was the only thing keeping me sane through a very traumatic first year in New York City. Because not only did the company go bankrupt, but I was also being sued by a real estate agent who showed me my first New York City apartment. But that's a story for another time. We don't have time to get into all that now. I want to get back to the topic of our careers and our faith. Because if you're at that point where you feel like you're separating your career from your spiritual practice, it's going to be very difficult for you to move forward in a profession that is fulfilling for you. So once I started integrating my faith back into my career, letting the fruit of the Spirit guide my actions, even though I wasn't entirely conscious of the time that it was the fruit of the Spirit guiding my actions, but I learned that later on, but that's what was happening. I was letting the fruit of the Spirit guide my actions. The results were remarkable. I left New York City because if you can't afford the Sex and the City lifestyle, why even live there? It's not for me, okay? It's not for me. So I leave New York City. I doubled down on my spiritual wellness. Like I invested heavily in ensuring that my faith was as strong as possible. And within a few months, I secured a new position. Over the next 5 years, I'd go on to earn 7 promotions and over $100,000 in salary increases. But here's the real reward. It wasn't just about money. It was about finally feeling aligned. I was building a career that not only looked successful on paper, but also felt purposeful and fulfilling. For example, when I anchored myself in goodness, choosing to show up more authentically and with impact, I began getting recognized for my contributions. Promotions came, yes, but I also found joy in helping others grow in their careers. When I practiced gentleness in how I communicated, my relationships deepened. Colleagues stopped bracing themselves for my critique and started leaning into more collaboration with me. When I extended kindness to myself, I stopped feeling burned out. I slept better, I laughed more, and I showed up stronger at work. And I'll tell you right now, that was a win-win for everyone, for me and for my colleagues. A happy Jalyn is a better Jalyn to be around. There's that. But you got to be kind to yourself in order for that happiness to permeate the different areas of your life. And so let me ask you this. Which fruit do you think could shift the way you show up at work right now? Is it gentleness, faithfulness, maybe even a little bit more patience? That's what good fruit does. Just as apples and oranges nourish the body, the fruit of the Spirit nourishes your career and your soul. It helps you access the highest version of yourself, the version that can lead teams, handle stress, and find joy in the work again. And the best part, you don't have to overhaul your entire life to start. Fruit grows one small choice at a time. So here's where I invite you to do more than just listen. Each week, I'll share one practice you can take with you for the next 7 days. In fact, the practice that we are going to talk about this week is the Good Fruit Tracker. You can find it in the show notes. You can find the link to the Good Fruit Tracker in the show notes. But here's how to use it. Each day you track which fruit showed up in your career. If you're feeling inspired, you can even track where the fruit of the Spirit showed up in your relationships, finances, and health as well. And it's just a quick checklist. You don't have to spend a lot of time writing a 10-page journal entry or anything like that. You just check the box. Did love show up in my career today? Check. Did self-control show up in my career today? Check. Did joy show up in my career today? Check. And just keep going down the list. And again, if you want to examine the other areas of your life because they're all connected somehow, some way, you can also see where the fruit of the Spirit is showing up in those other areas too. And who knows, by the end of the week, you may discover that your career already has the seeds of transformation planted. You just need to water them. How about that? Okay? You might just need a little bit of water for those seeds. So I want to thank you all for listening to Working Faith today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes, information about the weekly practice, and the link to submit your career questions can be found on the website, workingfaith.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with others. We all in this to grow together. And I'd love to hear your comments. You can leave them directly on Spotify, or you can go to the Working Faith LinkedIn page. You can also list your comments there. And then, of course, you're always free to message me directly, either through LinkedIn or Instagram, or you can email me directly at gsg@goodseedgroup.com, especially if you're looking for career support. I'm always ready and willing to help someone grow to the next level in their career. It's the highlight of my day and the highlight of my career. So thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with more tips on how you can take a spiritual approach to your career success and work your faith. Good day.